Hi, everyone. Bill Ikest here. I'm joined today by my friend and neighbor, Don Keller. Don is an entrepreneur and has been a successful business person for over 35 years now. He recently decided he wanted to offer his services as a life or career coach, and we're going to talk a little bit about that today for executives and business professionals. And today we're just going to touch on that and the value and the benefits of having a life and career coach. So, Don, welcome to you.
Thank you. Thank you,
Yeah,
Bill. It's good to be here. I'm
yeah.
pretty
Give people a
excited.
little bit about your background.
Sure. Just to start off, I'll tell you this is sort of my first podcast as a new second act career.
Good
So
deal.
I'm pretty excited. Again, my name is Don Keller. Yes, I was the owner and CEO of Blue Sky Exhibits. I've owned several businesses. I still own several businesses, but I recently sold my ownership of Blue Sky of 12 years. And I'm sort of headed into a new direction. I have two kids. I've been married for 35 years. Loved passionately what I do. I love being an entrepreneur. I love starting new things. Um, and I'm pretty excited about this new season of really a lot of new things for me, which is unusual all at the same time.
That's great. And knowing you as long as I have, I know that you appreciate the value of connections and relationships. You've gotten plugged into Cobb County quite a bit. You're serving on a lot of boards and continuing to network. I think a year or two older than you, but a lot of people would say we're kind of getting into that fourth quarter of our careers. But
Now, maybe
yeah,
third
yeah,
quarter,
yeah.
about that.
Right. You have a lot to offer. I feel like I have a lot to offer, and I think that's what it's all about. We're not excited about sitting on the couch and just watching the world go by or watching other people's lives on social media. We want to contribute and feel like we're engaged and making a difference. So
Right. You're exactly right. And, it's unique to be in this situation.
yeah,
I think it was intentional, probably for you as well. And there's a lot of new opportunities in being in this situation. So I'm excited about it.
for sure. That's awesome. Looking back on your career, talk about some of the mentors as you were growing up and as you got started in the real world after school.
Well, wow, there's a lot of them. But I think, honestly, I really think it were my parents. They were probably my biggest mentor. I don't know if you know this, Bill, but my mom was married 6 times. Did you know that?
Oh,
So I have six different fathers, and she had great taste. So I don't want you to feel sorry for me. We moved a lot, but I had a lot of influential men in my life. And in particular, my second father was very influential. He was a business owner. Um, he was, he was very disciplined, but I learned a lot about business, and I learned a lot of things I didn't want to do as well. And
yeah.
so he was a big influencer. And of course, my mom was a big one too. She just provided me with great work ethic and stability and love. And it really encouraged me to take a lot of risks at a young age.
Yeah, let's look at as you got out of school, before you got into the business with Blue Sky and whatnot. Did you have some bad bosses along the way? Did you have some really good bosses along the way? I could probably say the same, that there are some things that I learned from previous positions that, of how not to do something and what I believe to be the right way to do something. So did you feel like you had a lot of influences there?
Yes, I did. Um, I worked for a small company right out of college that was owned by a husband and wife,
Mm,
and I learned a ton from them. They were good leaders. They were different than me. Just like my father was he was more of a dictator. He really
mm,
was, but he got a lot done, and it was
wow.
effective.
Yeah.
The small business owner that I worked for, they were not dictators. They were much more facilitators in their leadership, and they were equally as successful. So I was able to really meld a lot of the people I've seen in my life to sort of create my leadership style, which, you may ask me, what is your style?
Right.
I
Yeah. What
don't
is your
really
style? What are
know.
some of the principles that you try to follow in business?
Well, my style is probably more facilitator. It probably is. I like getting people motivated to work. And so as a CEO, Blue Sky, I owned it for 20 years. I own another company called Viral Protective Services right now, and I own a movie set company called Base Camp. And then I own a Las Vegas company, Sky Expo. And so, but I sold Blue Sky. But in that, my leadership style was to get people to really enjoy their job and be motivated to do a better job and to learn along the way.
Yeah.
So there were a couple governing principles. Again, like I said, my mom gave me good work ethic. So I tried to provide an environment where they would see me have good work ethic. I would be a person of my word. I tend to talk a lot, so you can cut me off anytime.
Okay.
But I also want to be a person of my word. So
Yeah.
if I say something, I mean it and I practice it.
Yeah. Wouldn't you agree that it's important to have a good culture though too, right? So not only Don Keller, the owner, is supporting people and encouraging people, but that you have a team around you that's lifting people up and acknowledging people for the good work that they're doing, and also having their back during some of the downtimes, the pandemic or whatever it might be.
You bring up some of the downtimes, but absolutely, leadership is key. And I used to use the term bleed blue with my leaders. I really love it if they really would bleed blue for Blue Sky. And how do we do that? Well, one that comes to mind real quick is maybe sympathy and empathy, Bill. I'm a very sympathetic person, but I learned through the course of really business that empathy's better. And I think you really get people on the same page with you with empathy, as opposed to always trying to find something that they can gain from it with sympathy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think empathy is a lot about just being a good listener and
Yes.
really hearing what people have to say. So
Yeah, I mean, that's transferring power to your leadership. That's empathetic.
absolutely.
When they're having challenges, it's standing beside them and really working to a solution with them. It creates camaraderie, and really it eliminates the hierarchy of leadership. I would also say that's a key for me. I want people to know that I'm in it with them. I'm not really managing them or like my dad dictating to them.
Right.
But I was there and part of it, part of the solution.
Yeah, yeah. I just posted something on LinkedIn this week. You might have seen it, just a little clip from Simon Sinek talking about a gentleman. I think it was in Las Vegas that he ran into a gentleman at a coffee house who he just seemed very upbeat and talkative. And he said, "Hey, do you like your job?" And the kid was quick to respond, "I love my job." And he said one of the reasons he loved his job was, obviously more emotionally connected to the job than just liking it. And he said the boss, the management from the organization would always come by and check on him. It wasn't even his direct boss; it was just somebody in the organization. Interestingly enough, he had another job that he worked at night that was in a hotel environment, and he said he just really didn't enjoy that job at all. And it was because people were always making sure he knew when he was doing something wrong, but they weren't necessarily taking the time to let him know when he was doing something right. And so here you have the same person in two different cultures. One culture, they absolutely love their job. The other culture, they could kind of take it or leave it. So, I've always been a big believer in that as well. So,
I mean, that's a goal. That was a goal of mine, to have a staff member say they love their job. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
and honestly, Bill, that's what I gravitated more to as a CEO.
yeah,
Was what I could do to impact people.
sure,
I know you're probably familiar with this, but hiring and firing people is one of the most difficult things in business.
absolutely,
And truthfully, everyone that I've probably let go or fired, probably it might have been a little bit of my fault, because I wasn't putting them in the right position to begin with.
hmm,
And so I think another key role in leadership, or what I look for, is some of the soft skills of staff. There's a great book that I read called The Ideal Team Leader. Can't remember the author's name, but he highlights 3 soft skills in the book. I recommend the book. He highlights humility, he highlights being hungry, and he highlights being smart, like emotional intelligence. None of those have to do with experience. None of them have to do with schooling, industry knowledge, any of that. But the whole book talks about how he evaluated his staff and all the characteristics of good staffing and what he felt like was the ideal team player. And after reading this book, I totally agreed with him. I made my staff, my leadership staff read it, but I think it really translates into maybe what is I'm passionate about. You know, I'm passionate about those 3 soft skills, you know, ability, being eager and hungry to be a part of the team, and then being emotionally smart. You know, if someone's hurting, if someone's challenged, if someone is disgruntled or unhappy, knowing that and knowing how to handle it. That's what I want my leaders to do.
And I think a lot of that is management by moving around, you know, and not just getting stuck in your office all the time, waiting for problems to come to you. So you and I are both later in our careers, but we, as I said before, we still have a lot to offer. What made you decide to officially become a life coach or career coach?
Yeah, like I said, I think I really enjoyed helping people. Okay. And that was sort of an ancillary part of my job as a CEO. And you know, I employed a chaplain, a corporate chaplain at my company, and he would just walk around one day a week and make sure everybody was happy. And I can't tell you how many of the staff said, you know, that is such a good benefit you provide because, you know, when someone had their parent die, or, you know, they're moving, or they had a problem with a child, the chaplain can help. I have been in some coaching scenarios, like I led a CEO roundtable with the Cobb Chamber of Commerce for about 15 years. I still lead it. And although I would say I'm a facilitator, I think I'm really a coach with a lot of those leaders. And I've been told that I was doing well. I've been told that over the years. And so as I began to look at my professional life, I came across coaching and how it's a legitimate career. And so that's sort of what sparked my interest. I did a little research. I've met with coaches. I have a really good friend that's a executive life coach, and he works with corporations, and I met with him, and really I pulled the trigger, you know.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Why might someone, what would your thoughts be on why someone might consider having a life coach? And are there differences between a life coach and a career coach?
Well, I think a life coach provides another tool for your success. You know, I've mentioned this to you before, but what I've found is that our age group, let's bring that up again, we don't embrace coaching as much as the younger generation. And honestly, a life coach can really give you some iron sharpening iron feedback in business, especially an experienced executive coach. They can refine some of your rough edges, and they can also give you an opportunity or place that's safe. A lot of times you don't have to talk about some challenges. So I think that coaching is a really good alternative or solution for a lot of people that are floundering or have challenges that they can't meet on their own.
Well, and some people, you and I have talked about this too. Some people might look at it as a weakness if they are seeking out a coach, you know. But you think of most anything else, and I mean, I'll keep it kind of simple. But if I wanted to become a better golfer, which I expect at some point in my life I'm going to commit to doing, I'm going to probably want to get the assistance of a coach, somebody that can really help me with my game and improve my game, and or, you know, but anything else, you know, that I am interested in getting better at, I'm going to probably try to tap into. I've done it during my career, you know, tried to tap into people who've been there to say, hey, help me understand what you've done to be successful, because I'm sort of following a similar path. You know, any tips? There's you know, I'm a self-help guy, right? I love to tap into some of the resources that are available out there on how to do this and how to do that, how to be better at this, how to be better at that, and some little life hacks, maybe, if you will. And I just think can really be a valuable resource.